Hey everybody, it's Sharon here from Content Sparks, and welcome to our live stream today in celebration of the launch of our new course called How to Get Your Audience to Know, Like, and Trust You. Now, this is one of the things you've probably heard before. We also call it the KLT factor or the Know, Like, Trust principles, or uh, you've heard it around that it's essential for people to know, like, and trust you. So we created this course that's very, very practical that people will come away with an action plan from. And it's easy for anyone to teach because we all need to do these sorts of things in our business. And as part of the launch, I decided to guide you a little bit through one of the elements that can be an instant KLT builder straight away, which is creating a video on your About page. Now, before I get started, if you can't see me, hear me, I'm out of sync, whatever, please do let me know in the comments because I'm trying out a new camera and I haven't used it on live streams before. So I've kind of played with the settings and hopefully there won't be any problems. I have a lot of windows open and other things open to show you as we go through this live stream. So I will look out for the comments, and if you have questions along the way, also drop those in there. And when I take a break or take a breath, I will answer those. Okay. So, as I said, I'm one of the biggest things that can help you build know, like, and trust is actually introducing yourself, getting on camera, telling a little bit about yourself. And one of the prime places you can do that is on your About page. It's actually the second most visited page on your website. And that's right after your homepage. So just imagine somebody's new, they're just coming to your website for the first time, or they've heard about you or met you somewhere briefly, and they go to your website, and the first thing they do is look for the About. I do that all the time. Most of the time I go there, there's maybe a little blurb. Some people don't even put their name, and rarely a video. So this gives you a real edge because as soon as someone sees you and sees you talk just a couple minutes, they're going to start to know you. And then what they hear will help them like you and trust you, depending on how you come across in the video. So I have a few slides I'm going to go through, and I will just open that up again. Tell me if something's not working. I'll make myself a little slow. This is just the sales page for our new release, which you may have already seen my email about, how to get your audience to know, like, and trust you. And I did a little video at the top here. So that's going to be one little example of something short. It's not an about page video, but it's an example. And then there's a lot of information about the course and a sneak peek inside of it. But we're going to focus first on that about page video. So let me open up my slides. And here we go. So today we're going to talk about how to kickstart know, like, and trust with an about page video. And I've mentioned before, creating an impactful about page video is one of your easiest, quickest ways to build know, like, and trust, which is essential in business today, especially in this age of AI where people are seeing a lot of content and they're not sure whether it's really you, whether they can trust you, who's the person behind all that text that's coming out. But once you get on camera and actually speak to someone, they know it's you. If you mess up a little, that's okay, especially in a live stream like this. In the About page video, you're going to want to keep it a little more professional and clean, but still be authentic and come across as a real person. So this all fosters know, like, and trust. I did mention before that it's a rare asset. Most businesses don't seem to have one, and that this gives you a really unique edge in building rapport immediately with someone who visits your website, that first page on your site. And I also mentioned that We have this new course coming out, which I'll talk about a little bit later. There's a lot of information on the sales page, but I will at least show you the bonuses, the launch bonuses. Now, a few statistics about know, like, and trust, or actually a few statistics about the power of video in general. So if you're not sure whether video is actually important to put on your page, here are just a few things you should know. Number one, conversions. All right, 84% of people are convinced to buy a product or a service by watching a brand's video. And when it comes to a service, like you personally delivering some sort of service, it's even more important to form that connection. Retention, viewers retain 95% of a message when watched in a video compared to 10% when read in text. So the combination of the two on the page will get you way up there in retention, and you want people to remember you. So on the About page, they're going to remember you much more if they see you introduce yourself a bit and then they read a little about you. Revenue growth, marketers are using video. Marketers who use video grow revenue 49% faster than non-video users. That's one of the reasons I'm actually going to be using more and more video. I actually hired somebody who is helping me, Lou Bortone, helping me with my About page and doing more videos. So hopefully you'll see more of me around. Website engagement, users spend 88% more time on websites with videos. I think you've probably seen that. It's not just about TikTok and scrolling through, but on pages where there is video, they'll spend that extra time. Partly because you're doing the video and reading as well, but it takes time to watch and take it all in. Demand for videos, 54% of people want to see more video content from marketers. So that just says it all there. And the KLT factor, you may have heard this quote before from Bob Berg: all things being equal, people do business with and refer business to people they know, like, and trust. Okay? If you haven't heard that before, drop me a note. But if you have, also say yes or no. You've heard it before, you haven't heard it before. I'm pretty sure most of you have, but I'll look out. All right, let's keep going. All right, the role of your About page. So the About page is if somebody doesn't know you, if they've never seen you before, they're going to click on that About as soon as they get to your page, as soon as they get to your website. So it's the most high traffic page after the home page, and it boosts like and trust based on what they learn about you. And I mentioned this before, it's essential in the age of AI for human connection. If you're in business, you have a business, you've probably been playing around with AI a little bit. It seems that every single email and ad we get is something to do with AI and how you can automate everything in your business. You don't have to do anything except sort of stand there and press a button. Well, it'll help us streamline, but it's a tool and it's not going to replace you. No matter how much you might think that it's going to replace you, it isn't. And I've seen some of those videos with people who are just sort of standing there waving their hands around, and then they have an AI voice that sounds like them, that they give a script, and you think you're fooling anyone. Sorry, you're not going to be fooling anyone. People can tell when it's authentic or not. I don't think that's going to be going away anytime soon, if ever. So this is your chance to make sure you get in there, show people that you're a human being. Okay, so let's go straight into planning the About page. Actually, before I go into that, do you want to see an example of a video on About page? I made a note to show you one. So why don't I head over and show you one? Here's a great example from a company that you may have seen a lot of stuff in before. Where is it? Here. Pray that it loads. Okay. So this is HubSpot's about page that shares their story. So before I show you what you should think about putting into your about page, take a look at this one. HubSpot does this sort of thing really well, all their content marketing and things like their about page here. So they have someone doing this as an interview format. I'm going to show you how you can do it yourself very simply, just record a couple minutes. But this one, if I share the link, it's just hubspot.com/our story. And I'll just post that in as an example. All right. And let's just play that for a second. Hopefully this won't mess up. So let's see if you can hear this. Oh, I'm not sure it's going to want to play. Now, notice something about that. I don't know if you could hear it or not, but it's a person, obviously, interview, very casual. He comes across human. He's telling a little bit about their backstory. So this is a longer video. Let's see how long it is. No, it's not. It's 2 minutes. That's the ideal length, is around 2 minutes or so. But you're getting a real feel for where they came from, how they started out, who this person is, gives you a lot of confidence. It's a very simple background, so you're not distracted by anything either. He's got subtitles in there, captions, which I'll show you a tool for doing, really, really easy to do these days. So that's one example of an about page, video. So let's just head back. All right, let's talk about what to say in your video. And before I do that, I just have one comment. So Khalil, you want to repost the link? You didn't see it in the chat. The link for the HubSpot story is right here. I'll put it in again. Maybe it didn't post it to Facebook. You know, sometimes Facebook won't let me post from StreamYard. I'm not quite sure why. Usually it does. You may have to, well, I don't know. Usually it works. For some reason, it's not. Anyway, it's hubspot.com/our-story. All right. So you can hopefully see it now. And if not, I'll post it a little bit later. All right. So what to say in your about page video? Really quick, you introduce yourself, your name, your role. If you have a team and you want to do that, that's going to take longer, but you could introduce in general that you have a team. So have your name. Hi, I'm Sharon Sheldon, founder of Content Sparks, that kind of thing. And why you're qualified. So, hey, I'm Sharon Sheldon, founder of Content Sparks, and I've been creating business training programs for Fortune 500 companies and small business owners for over 30 years now. So something like that, really short, concise. And actually, you'll see it's not quite done yet, but when it's done, I'll show you or send an email with my new about page video with the about page on it. Next, what you sell, high level product or service. So something, I can't remember exactly what I said, but something around the lines of, I provide customizable business programs that you can teach as your own and sell as your own under your own name, something like that. I'm not very good at just sort of doing that off the top of my head. I have to write it out first and then keep it as notes. You'll do whatever works for you. So you do that, then the problems that led to your solution. So here's where you can go a little bit into your background of problems you saw or you experienced yourself, the reason for your products. So, for example, I may talk about how I had trouble scaling my own business because I was working only one-to-one with clients, and I saw that, online courses were a great way to get out there. I also wanted to be able to have an online business so I could live and work from anywhere in the world because I love to travel. And I saw other people who had the same issue. I met them at conferences and workshops, and I realized I could take my experience in instructional design and help people do the same sort of thing, create those courses and scale your business, yada, yada, but keep it really concise as well. So that's where you want to kind of really think through the why behind your business and how it relates to your potential customers. So even though the about page video is about you, it's really about your customers as well and what it is that will help them know you, help them like you and trust you. What do they want to hear? What do they need to hear about you? So do that, get the problems behind, help them picture themselves afterwards. This is really critical in any kind of marketing and any kind of sales, even with courses that you create. How help people picture the outcome afterwards. So, for instance, with something like the Know, Like, and Trust course, you need people in the course need to picture the outcome of having that action plan. They know exactly what they need to do. They feel they can picture themselves with customers, referring them, buying repeatedly because they are trusted, they love what they're getting, things like that. Help them put themselves into the future vision of of what they'll experience and how they'll feel after they've used your product or service. So get a little bit of a picture in there. Then personality, something about you. This is also critical for the liking part of it and building some sort of rapport. It's not going to be your whole long history of from you were born and I went to school here and then I did this and try and pick something out that your potential customers would also relate to. So, for instance, for me, I love to travel. I have 3 children. When I was raising them, I'm trying to think of things off the top of my head now that you might relate to. I wanted to have an online business, so I had the flexibility to look after my family when they were younger, but then when they were all out of the house, being able to travel with my husband and all I needed was a laptop and a comfortable Airbnb and I was set. I can work from anywhere, and that's what we do now. Constantly traveling. You hear about it sometimes in my emails. So everybody has a little bit something in there. I'm just checking for any comments. Nope, everybody's good. All right. So the personality side, get a little something across, not a lot, maybe a sentence. Remember, we're only doing this in 2 minutes. And then a call to action. I put down here on the slide, subscribe to list or social media, but it could be something else. It could be, let's chat. Here's a link for booking a free strategy call. Or, it could be the sign up. It could be join me on social media, join my community, something that's encouraging them to take action. And then you can put the button right under the videos that people go and take action after listening to you for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So you can see it will take you a little time to get that script right, to play with it, but don't worry, you're going to be able to edit it. So everything I say, like I'm saying now, I can go back and very easily edit it with today's tools for video editing. But first, the technical setup. Let's talk about that a little bit because I know this kind of gets people a little overwhelmed and can stop you in place. So I gave you some of these tips already, so I'm not going to keep going there. The biggest tip here, actually, before I go into tech, is it should align with your audience. So remember, this is really about them, not about you. You can reflect on past interactions with your customers or your audience, so that's one way to really think about how to align it with them. Maintain consistency on your about page. So if you already have an about page and you're just putting together your video, look at that page, look at some of the things you've said before, and make sure you're consistent with that in your video. If you have to edit the page itself because you've thought of new things and things you've learned from customers, then do that, but make sure it's consistent. And as I've said before, be on camera. Get on the camera. Don't just talk. Otherwise, it could be about anyone. You want it to be about you. All right, so technical setup. Camera. The quality matters. All right. I mentioned that I have a new camera I just got. I actually got this from Lou because it's a Lou Bortone because it's a 4K and he wanted me filming in 4K, not 1080, but my 1080 one still works too, works really well. So I'm just getting comfortable with this one. Let me show you what they are. I can't show you the camera or I won't be on camera, but I'll show you what I have. So I'm using this one right now. This is a Lumina 4K webcam. Tiny little thing. You can't really see. It's like that big. I actually do have the pink one. Thank you, Lou, for sending me that color. I love it. This one is an Amazon, $175. It may be cheaper elsewhere. So if you want to start with something cheaper, go for it. I'll show you. I used to use this one and I still have it sitting on my computer. So if I have problems with one, I now have another. And this is 1080, but it works really well. I actually was using this. I've used this camera, I don't know, for like 10 years, I think, since the very beginning when I started doing videos. So this has been around a long time. It's real tried and true. Not expensive, but works really well, produces great video. And I even travel with this because it's not that big, though the Lumina one is even smaller. So I'll probably travel with this one now and just stick it on my laptop because you never want to use the integrated camera. It doesn't work well. And then a microphone as well is the other thing that you need to have a good microphone. So good camera, good microphone are critical because you are going to be on camera. I use this, the Blue Yeti. I don't actually have the blue one. I have the silver one, but this is also I've had for years and it works really well. I actually put that on a boom on my desk. So I think they give that as an option, something like this desk clamp thing. So that's one option because then I can pull it towards me. So let me see if I can do this here, let me go back. So here's can't really see it. There it is. So that's what I have. And there are others as well. Let me see what else I put here. Lighting. We'll talk about lighting in a second. Let's go back to the slides. Okay. So camera, quality matters. Microphone needs to be clear audio. I also use an app called Crisp, KRISP. I'll put this in here, Crisp. And what that does is helps eliminate some background noises. So if you're recording, you're in the groove, everything's going, and somebody starts a lawnmower up outside, or somebody knocks on the door, or the dog's barking, it will eliminate a lot of those noises. So that's something you might want to consider as well. It's free. Lighting can be really tricky. I find this one of the hardest things to do, and I'll show you why. So I'm on camera now, right? I have an overhead light that happens to be what I have in the office. And I have another thing called a key light, but with glasses, it's really hard to get rid of that reflection there. You can see the key light. So anyone with glasses, you're going to have trouble as well. But having the lighting overhead, this is another thing Lou just taught me, up and facing down will help with that. And then natural light helps as well. Like I have a window. I actually have the shade closed because what happens is I get too much light on one side. So you'll have to play with that. If you have a window in front of you, you can do that also if it's not blinding you. So that's another one. Let's go back so you don't need to look at me the whole time. Natural and or lamps. So you can try, that's what I used to do before I had any kind of lights at all, is I just took a lamp, a desk lamp on one side and the other side and a window, and it worked perfectly. And you don't need that. And then also the cameras, like the one I'm using, you can adjust the brightness and the warmth and things like that. So there's so much tech now, and it's pretty inexpensive. So let me also show you this other light that I got here. So a key light is another thing. Mine is called a key light. I have this desktop one. You can get floor standing ones or lots of other ones. I still have a couple of bigger spots when I was in a very dark room, but they're a real pain to set up. And I just prefer to have something ready to go. So when I want to just jump on camera, I don't have to start setting up lights and spots and all sorts of things. This I can control from my computer and just turn on and off really easily. But there are other options and packages. Good old Amazon, they'll recommend a bunch of things. But this one I liked also because it doesn't have, it just has this soft panel and I can adjust the lighting. So again, with glasses, that becomes an issue. So let's see, what do I have next? Professional setup. Okay, so this is tough too, the background. I am always playing with trying to get the background right. With this camera, I can adjust and get a blurred background, but I was just reading recently about what's the best background for an about page video. So this is not the ideal background. So when I did mine, I blurred it. But one of the things that this article said is that you can, the ideal is to have books on one side and a plant on the other. So framing yourself that way. Or you could have a living room background that you blur a little, but that ideal. So I'm going to be finding a plant somewhere and put a few books and play with my background. But for now, I've blurred it a bit. Let's see. So mimosas, you have an adjustable ring light. Yep. I actually have one of those, but it always reflects this round my glasses. So I had to move to something else. It's that glasses issue again. Khalil, do you recommend using green screen for background? I know a lot of professionals use green screen, and that's one way to do it. I think for an about page video, you should have a personal background that reflects something about you, something personal about you, or at least looks a little warmer and friendlier. You can, with some editing apps, remove your background entirely without a green screen. And that's what I've done, like on my sales page video with Descript, which I'll show you in a little bit. But basically what I did in here, in this video, here, let me share the page, that would be helpful. So in this video here, I actually had my office background, but in Descript, I removed it and I didn't have to have a green screen at all. And it removed it. I could have changed the color. It worked out really well, but I wanted this to be simple. And then I added the captions. Didn't take me long at all. It's really, really great technology. So I wouldn't bother. What happens to me is with the green screen I haven't used it in ages because again, it's a pain in the neck to set up each time. And I'm not going to just leave it set up the whole time. So when you have technology like the Descript that'll do it for you, I don't worry about it. And I prefer a personal background, not something fake. You have to do what fits with your brand, of course. So keep it clean, keep it brand reflective, something personal to you, and do the framing like you being more in the center. So here, I'm not quite centered, but I can crop that. I kept myself a little over to the side so that my name that way um, shows up and isn't overlapping me. Uh, yes, background should be personable and nice and clean, but brand reflective. So if you have a very professional brand and that's what you want to reflect, then have a professional background. If you're working with people who would appreciate more of a friendly background, like a living room, then do that. So try and make it brand reflective, but you don't want a lot of stuff in the background because it's distracting. You can still blur the background, but even then it can be a little bit distracting. All right, back to here. Let me see if I missed anything. All right, so recording tips. I've said this over and over, be authentic and engaging. So be yourself. It's the authenticity that's going to really foster connection and rapport with whoever visits your site and wants to know about you. So that's why you put in things like personality, you speak in your normal way, you don't read off a script. So you want to be professional and balance that with your personality. And that can be really tough. But if you speak directly to your viewer, just imagine someone sitting there on the other side of the camera, then that's going to be much easier. So, for instance, the whole script thing, I'll write it out, but I'll record it maybe line by line, and I never end up actually saying what I've written. I look at it, and then I look at the camera and speak whatever I remember of what I just looked at. So I don't always remember what I said. In fact, I rarely do. And you'll see that in all my videos because that makes it does make it sound more natural. But when I read it, it's really hard to make it sound natural. And that's kind of like what I said before. I have certain phrases that I do say all the time, so those will come off more naturally. But when it's something different, then it's a lot tougher. So I just look at the line, say it, pause, look at the next line, say it, look at the camera, say it, pause, and then I can go in and edit it. I can show you one. Let's see. Let me show you one. Oh, I don't have mine ready yet, so I can't show you that. But I can show you in here, in this video that I did on our new sales page, I recorded it that way. So I have my thumbnail and everything, and then I'll just play the very beginning. So if you saw that right there, that was a little bit of a jump. And that's where I cut out a bunch of stuff. I had stopped and looked at my next line and then started again. So I had to cut out me looking down and thinking, or maybe I said something wrong. But this is the norm for video. People are used to it and it keeps it moving along. So that works perfectly well. Let's keep going back. So that's one example. Let's see what else. I talked about the balance. All right, video size and length. I also mentioned this before too, 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, I would say. So you can go a little over, don't drive yourself crazy. But most people drop off after around 2 minutes. So you want to keep it short and concise, but still get those things in that I mentioned before. Format, in terms of size, square format, I found is much easier to place in different places on the page. And it also works well if you want to put it in other places like social media, or it works better on mobile. Also, those landscape ones never really show up well on mobile. So if you're not sure how to do that, you can set it up that way, or you can adjust it after doing your recording. So based on the settings on your camera. If you're going to crop it afterwards, play with that because you'll need to leave a little bit of extra room on the sides when you're setting up. So again, that example of my sales page video, and this one, I did record it as landscape, but I had enough room around me that I was then able to just expand it and crop it down to a square. And that just worked better on the page. If I'd had this on landscape wider, it would have been much tougher to put on here. And I mentioned this also, record with editing in mind. So this is one of the most valuable tips I can give you for recording any kind of video, sales video, longer video, whatever. If you mess up while you're doing it, just pause and then say it again from where you can remember you messed up. That I find that's much better than first. You don't want to record the whole thing all over again unless you've just messed up completely and you want to do a refresh and try it again. Instead, just pause because you're in the flow already, and I'm sure some of it is already worked out well. So do that, and then it'll be easy to edit. And do a little test first because you don't want to record the whole thing and then find it just didn't record at all. There was no sound. Believe me, I've done that back in the day. Or it's blurry. I've done that recently because the settings weren't right. So always do a little bit of test first. Mimosas. I need bullet points. I get excited and ramble. Shiny object syndrome. Yeah, people tell me I talk too fast. Jokingly, I tell them to buckle up and listen faster. I'm from the South. I love that. You can also slow down a video if you want. I tend to speed them up, so that's perfect for me. But that's great. You get excited, you ramble, then you have all this great content, and you can go back and edit out stuff if you need to for the smoother video. It's great on the live stream. But then when you want that professional, shorter video, you can just cut out pieces. Really works out well. This most exciting development I saw was Descript and being able to edit in that. So do that, messed up, paused. Editing your video is another thing. There are tools, iMovie. I used Camtasia for years. I still like Camtasia for certain things like zooming in, but Descript is so much easier. And you can just go in and cut, trim, add text overlays and captions. I was going to show you Descript on this. I'm really sorry that I can't, but what happened was my camera crashed because Descript accesses the camera and StreamYard that I'm using for the live stream also does, and my camera got confused. So I don't want that to happen in the middle. But it is free to a certain extent, so you should definitely go and try it out. And basically, I can't see it on here. You can see a little product tour on there, and you'll definitely want to try this. Because the way it works, here's a picture of it in the product tour, is when I want to cut something out, I just pick the text and hit delete, and it's cut out. Easy peasy. I absolutely love it. And I would call it almost idiot proof. Nothing is idiot proof, but it's much easier for working with. And there's always some things. Lou Bortone, who I'm working with for video, also has a Descript course. And I don't know if he's doing it again or has it self-paced, but I found that really useful for learning the basics. I use it basically to cut out stuff that I was not happy with or things where I repeated. I also use it for, I don't think you can see it on here. I use a feature called Studio Sound. And all it is, so you pick the script, you turn on studio sound, and it makes it all sound perfect, like you're in a studio. All the background noise is gone, all the garble, anything just sounds nice and clean. So again, you can see that on my sales page video, the example and how that sounds. You can't see the before and after, but it works out really well. And then the other thing that you can just play with, I would just play with this because you can crop, you can do the studio sound, Filler word, overdub. There's a bunch of stuff I don't use. I keep it simple, and I always recommend keep it really, really simple. I also haven't used their screen recordings because I still use Snagit, but you can record right in that app also. And you can, I mentioned before, you can take out the background in, I don't know if they have this on the page here, AI powered green screen. So that's another thing. If we were talking about green screens, you can just turn on green screen and it'll take it all out. Easy peasy. All right, or put another, you can have it as a solid or you can put an image in. So not completely idiot proof, depending on how much you want to do, but the editing of the text is definitely idiot proof. The other things you want to do when you're editing is your logo. So if you're using something like Descript or something else, it's usually just upload a media file, put it on the screen, and it's done. You can add a little intro and outro sequence. I'd say that's optional because when someone lands on the page, sometimes they just want to hear you right away. So if you have a little intro, outro, like your logo zipping in, make it really, really short, just a few seconds, if that. And I mentioned for always have a call to action. So I'll probably have something, at least on my about page, saying, sign up for updates, or I don't know. I can't even remember what I said. You'll see it. What else? Uploading your video. So you can do it to something like YouTube and keep it as unlisted if you want, and then grab that embed code. I also use something called Publitio, which I'll show you. Where is it? Here. So Publitio is a place where you can host videos also. And all you do is take the embed code. So when you go to share, and this is the same when you're sharing on from YouTube, you take this embed code and then you put it into your web page using the HTML or the text view. So if you're using WordPress, I'm assuming most people are using WordPress. It's the biggest one. But in any other platform too, you would just have some sort of HTML element or raw text element and just paste this code, and then it'll come out on the page. If it's on YouTube and you have some sort of page where you can just put in a YouTube video, you could do that too. It's the only issue with using YouTube is that you might lose people going over to YouTube. So they're looking at it, they have the chance to head over to a different site. You really want to keep them on your site. So consider using some other hosting service. I think Vimeo, you might be able to do it without losing them over to YouTube. You can also put some SEO in when you upload any video to, Publitio, YouTube, Vimeo, whatever. You put some keywords in if you want it to be searchable. So if you've done your about page video that way, and make sure you have a thumbnail. And that can just be a screenshot from the video. You can then edit it in something like Canva, or if you're using Descript and take a frame, you can add some text on there. But you need to have, when you actually upload it to a video platform, you need to have a thumbnail so that when it's stopped on the page, it's not you going, or some sort of weird face. Let's see. So like Publitio, I actually uploaded a thumbnail. In YouTube, you can see I put thumbnails on all of my videos. They often have the title really big or a picture of me, but these are mostly created in Canva. And Khalil, you said you use a software called Komodo. Oh, interesting. I think I've heard that name. Utilizes the feature on laptop. Right. On my phone, I use a jump cut video editor app called Video Easy. So many apps, so many software. So use what's easiest for you, definitely. And if you're comfortable with it, use that. There's so many apps coming out constantly that it's that shiny object syndrome. I'm so tempted to look at them, but stay focused, because the key for growing your business is not the next great app unless it's something you're going to be using all the time, like you're already using that, Khalil. So that makes sense. But if you're getting distracted by a billion different apps, focus on one that can do most of what you want or that's really easy for you to use. So let's see, embedding. I did just show you the embed code. So use that embed code from sharing. You can place it near the top of the page and test it on different devices as well. So I'm going to have mine on my about page. So right now, this is what you're seeing, but I'll probably replace this, which you can see is square. I'll replace it with the video and I'll replace the button with a different call to action because this one isn't really a good call to action. It's just going to a product. And I'll see what else I need to change on the page, but that's the biggest thing. So near the top of the page is usually the best. And let me show you another example, actually. I have the link somewhere. Here, let me show you. Here, I want to show you this example because it's really fun. This is called lessfilms.com. I had a lot of trouble finding examples of about page videos, which is again why it's a great edge for you. So this one is a more, their personality is more fun and silly, and it's all about travel. It says something about them. So this is very much reflecting their personality. And it is only 50 seconds. So let's turn it on. So that's a very different approach, but these people do video. So they better have a really, really good video on their about page. So they're going to do something a little bit fancier. You're not going to necessarily do that unless that's your business and you're an expert in video. And then you may not be watching this anyway. So definitely reflect your brand, but that's one example. And then test it on different devices as well. And that is the bulk of the presentation about the video. So your next step is to actually record your about page video. So take what I told you today. I can download these slides and put them into a PDF and put them and add a link in underneath the video. So I'll put that in Facebook groups where this is going and in YouTube as well, or I'll just send it out in an email. So if you're not on my email list, make sure you do that. There's a general sign up on the site in the footer of my website. So first you'd want to go to check out the new course, contentsparks.com/know, like, trust. And I can put that in here, show you that. And grab that, take a look at it, because with the new course on Know, Like, Trust, and like I said, anyone could teach it. You can take what you learned here and create an about page video and be able to use that as an example. You'll already be building Know, Like, Trust and have that example for them. And people come away with a very clear action plan. So Know, Like, Trust sounds like a very vague, very interesting, in concept and theory, it sounds great, but how do you actually put that into action? And the course goes through that, the fundamentals, and then different tactics for each one, and actually having them lay out 3 tactics for each, not going overboard. And you can learn more about that on the sales page.